Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Hope everybody is doing well. My name is Eric. We got the latest Manchester United news and updates. Ruben Amorim, looking to get two midfielders in Manchester United. Looking potentially to get two midfielders in brand new. It's not looking like January, although January there might be some possibilities. There's some murmurings right now about possible loan deals, so maybe we're gonna take a look at that. Maybe we'll get something in there. But the two midfielders topic is really about, at the end of the season for next summer. Those are when it's the most plausible, the most likely. There are some big names on this list. So for it to happen in January is very, very, very highly unlikely. I guess never say never, right? But there are some big names on this list, some big players, some high transfer fees as well for some of them. So we're going to get into that. There's also some other news and updates around United that we got to get into as well. So make sure you stick around. It's going to be a jam-packed show. We're going to really break down the midfield situation. We're really going to try and analyze who would be the best for what United need in the midfield for Ruben's system. Who is doing what kind of player they are. I have some stats, some analytics. I broke it down a little bit. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty today. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good show. Please make sure you smash the like button. Get that done. It's a big help to the channel. Hit that like button. Get that done. And if you're new, if you're new and you enjoy the content and you enjoy the channel, we welcome you to the family. We're trying to get to 3,500 subscribers. Make sure you subscribe. And then when you do subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live. But, yeah, let's just get straight into the midfield talk because this is the big one. We're going to be talking about it all year, I'm pretty sure. So let me pull that up real quick. So here we go. So Manchester United are open to adding two new midfielders in 2026. The short list is Carlos Baleba, Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton, Conor Gallagher, Angelo Stiller, and Andre Santos. This is the list that we have so far. This is coming from Ben Jacobs, Alex Crook. Ben Jacobs on the United stand earlier this in the day, giving us some transfer updates as he's been doing for a little bit now. I like Ben Jacobs. I think he's a good journalist. And he tries to give us credible updates. You're not going to get everything right, but I mean, there's some big names on this list. Baleba obviously been talking about since the previous summer window. Elliot Anderson, sort of a new one. Wharton was mentioned in the previous summer window as well. At the end of last season, many fans want Wharton. Many fans like Baleba. Elliot Anderson's a new one. Piquing some interest in the fan base. Conor Gallagher, there's a potential, maybe a loan in January. Looking to get out, possibly out of Atletico Madrid. And then if not in January, it could be one that maybe happens in the summer as well. So he's there for kind of both. Angelo Stiller is one that's been being mentioned as of late. But I think we have a nice, good list here. And for Manchester United, just to hit the point real quick, for Manchester United, we should always be doing our homework as thoroughly and as long as possible. And if this is a real list and this is as accurate as it could be, it's a good indication that the club is aware of the problems. We are being a bit proactive on this front. I think one of the things that you can criticize is say we could have used, one of these guys this year, and we should have gotten one in the summer window, and we should have tried to figure out how to get the funds available for it. But there's nothing we could do about it now. Yeah, up until maybe January we get a loan in, but next summer definitely you're betting all the money on Manchester United. Listen, we fixed the attack. Or we got a new attack, and now it's time to do the midfield and to go back into the back line, wing back, maybe a center back, etc. like that. So we're going to get into that. Steph was in here very, very early. I don't know if she's here, but she jumped in. She said, I got a poll running, so hit the poll, vote in the poll. The poll is, should United get two mids? Because I feel like some fans might not feel like we need two mids. Maybe they're comfortable with one mid, and they would like the money distributed into other places like wingback or a center back, or maybe some other positions. But Steph dropped in here, said 2 center mids and a right wing back, please. I agree with her. I think at the very least we need, you know, the midfielders. We definitely need a wing back, and potentially maybe a center back as well. Looking in their boxes here, says yo Eric and yo Steph. What's up, Box? What do you think about the midfielders, man? What do you think about the midfield short list that we apparently have? You got any preferences? Does anybody have any preferences? I know Grace has a preference for Wharton. She also has a preference for Delo, but he's not a midfielder, yeah. But I know Grace has been saying she wants Wharton really, really bad. And I know a lot of our fan base is very, very sold on Baleba. I don't know too much about Elliot Anderson, to be honest. I know that he's at Forest, but I haven't watched him as much as maybe Wharton or Baleba. Conor Gallagher, I don't know, to be honest. I'm not 100% sold on him. I think he's a good player. I seen him at Chelsea. I didn't really think he was all that, to be quite honest. You know, I could be wrong. Stiller, I think, is a very good player, and I think he can fit what Ruben needs in one specific area in the midfield. I have a little bit of reservation because he's a bit slow. He's a bit on the slower side in terms of mobility, like speed-wise. And the Bundesliga adaptation for the intensity and the physicality in the Premier League might be one we might have to look out for. You know, it's a bit different. You know, if you get Baleba, Anderson, Wharton, they all play in the Prem. Conor Gallagher played in the Prem before as well, so and he's English, so he should know the game in England, yeah. But let me just jump to these other things. So a couple little stats. I have more stats, but this was one that I saw that was picked up on when I was searching for the news. So Premier League midfielders, progressive action rate, which is basically passing the ball forward. Adam Wharton has a 32.8 percentage rate in terms of progressing the ball forward. Eze, 26.48%, and he's at Arsenal. Xavi Simons has a 24.69% so far. I think this is this season, by the way, as well. And he's at Tottenham. He's 22. Curtis Jones, 24.62 at Liverpool. And then Bruno Fernandes at 24.36% percent rate. I think there's more players on there, but yeah, I mean, Wharton is one that does progress the ball quite well. He lacks in... No, sorry, that's Baleba. Baleba lacks in goal scoring, but we're not getting him really for goal scoring. We're getting him to stabilize the midfield, and sort of be, you know, a breaker-upper, you know, sort of a bruiser type of guy. But, yeah, little tidbit there. And then jump in here real quick. Ben Jacobs, Alex Crook. Oh, this is the same update. I meant to hit this one. So Ben Jacobs, talking a little bit on Stiller, said in the summer, one to keep an eye on. Much more affordable than a player like Carlos Baleba. Much more gettable, maybe because of the release clause or simply the price being lower than someone like Adam Wharton, who Manchester United really like. Elliot Anderson is obviously there on the radar. We can speak about him, but not something to watch out in January. So Stiller's release clause is kind of his market value. He's open to the Premier League, and I think that he's going to be a story to watch between Stiller and Manchester United, but in the summer rather than in January, unless, of course, they decide to pay big money or trigger the release clause early, but that chance may be taken away from them if Stuttgart pay this 2 million number. I didn't do enough digging. I don't know if the chat can help me out. I don't know what he means by the 2 million number. I would assume Stuttgart has some sort of clause that they pay 2 million. It does something to his contract or something like that. Release clause. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but I didn't have time to really look it up. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys are basically for the summer. I think if we're gonna do, what fees would they all be? Well, I think it's a good. Um, it's a good question, Box. I think we kind of got to take. We'll take a look at it. We'll get kind of a. I mean, listen, we know Baleba is gonna be around 100 million, somewhere in that ballpark. You know, 80. I think Brighton are gonna want to ask for 125 or something like that. I don't think they should get 125, but they've already quoted Baleba for around that price. Obviously, United are gonna try and get them lower. But yeah, we'll cover that in a second because I'm gonna jump back into that. But just real quick, because we'll hit the wing back. You know, we do need to sign a wing back, and I think you know, Ben Jacobs here on the United Stand saying, I think Anthony Robinson at Fulham was looked at during the summer. A profile like that, I think, is going to be the type of player, even if it's not him specifically. But let's see whether or not they move on the left-hand side, because from what I hear, Diego Leon is doing really well, and there's a big future ahead of him, and there are other current options on that left-hand side too. Lyle is here. Lyle has joined us. What's up, buddy? Yeah, I think kind of like Steph alluded to in the beginning, you know what, maybe the left-hand side, maybe that competition sort of angle that I talked about last time kind of takes care of itself. I mean, there is Amos. He's still young. He needs to develop, but there is Amos there. There is Diego Leon. He is young. He needs to develop there, but apparently, according to Ben Jacobs here, I mean, he's doing really well, and it's probably only a matter of time. Again, a kid like Leon, you know, coming from a totally different country in a totally different league, like nowhere near the level of the Premier League. I think it's okay that we don't really hear or see from him right now. I like the fact that he's kind of putting in the work in the background. There's no real focus on him. I'd like to see him, you know, at one point this season, and I think we will, but I don't think there's any need to rush the kid. And I think it's better if we prep these kids, like Diego Leon, if we prep him properly, let him focus on himself. There's no need to have so much added extra pressure. That pressure is going to be put on him when he actually steps onto the pitch for United and starts getting a bigger, you know, starts getting a bigger role into the team. So let him do the adaptation, getting used to life in England and getting used to, you know, English football and building himself up a little bit. So maybe the left-hand side we all covered. The right-hand side, I really like Diallo there. I think Diallo does an excellent job there. I think he offers a bit of a different dynamic because he is, you know, traditionally an attacker first, defender second, as opposed to the other ones that we have, who they are defenders first, attackers second. But, you know, Delo isn't playing well, and I actually prefer Noose or Mazawari, aka I prefer Mazawari as an extra option at center back. I like him at center back. I think he plays it well as one of the outside center backs, left center back or right center back. We don't need him at center back, but yeah, I like, and he would probably play right center back because as far as I'm aware, he's not left-footed yet. So we also have Heaven there. There's Luke Shaw. I don't know what we're gonna do with Luke Shaw. We probably should look to move him on, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. He is playing a prominent role right now. So Lyle keeping us up to date. Nottingham Forest 1, Porto 0. Dyche's first game in charge. Yeah, just real quick on that. I mean, it's in typical United fashion, yeah. Well, maybe it worked out for us since Ange beat Ruben Amorim. Was it 4 times last year? Maybe it worked out for us, but I mean, Ange at Forest was terrible. We have to play Forest after Brighton. And you could have said you couldn't have sacked Ange after we played him, so we could have just get like a free hit or free win. Now they got Dyche playing Dyche football. It's going to be hard to break down, I assume. And you know what? Fair props to them, because actually Dyche football probably works a lot better at Forest, and it's similar to Nuno than what, Ange was doing. I don't even know why they would hire Ange, but yeah, I think that Nottingham Forest game has become a tougher match for us, unfortunately, because you know what? I'll take all the free hits that we can get. I don't care. I just want wins. I don't really care how we do it or how it happens. I just want 3 points and wins at this point. And with Ange there, we probably would have got a free hit. Although you can make the argument, listen, he had Amorim's number last season. Every time we played and he beat him, so maybe it still worked out into our benefit because he doesn't have to face Ange. He has to face Dyche. I don't know if he has a record against Dyche, but Lyle says Dyche ball is going to be interesting. We need an early goal for that one to force them forward. Yeah. You know what? We definitely need to do for that one, Lyle? Don't concede first. Don't concede. We cannot afford to concede first in that match. If we concede first, it's going to be a rough day at the office for us. It's going to be a real pain in the ass. But we'll jump back to that at the end. I want to get back into the midfield talk, yeah? So I've gone ahead and tried to get some stats, to try and really break down this midfield, because there's a lot of names on this list. Yeah, let me pop the list back up for anybody that's jumping in. So this is the supposed short list for the midfield for the summer. Yeah, and there's Joe Bellingham is being talked about potentially, maybe in January. Conor Gallagher maybe possibly could be in January. We'll talk about those, but I kind of want to just go into this because there's a lot of names. They're not all the same. They play a little bit differently. For Ruben's system, you would say we need, I think let's just start off here before we really get into that. Do you guys feel like we need 2 midfielders? Do you think that we can get 2 midfielders? Do you think that we should be doing this? Because I think we kind of do. And I would further it even more as to say, especially if Bruno is going, like if we actually sell Bruno, I think then you definitely 100% need 2 midfielders. But you got Casemiro's leaving and he's gone. Then, we got Menu and Ugarte and there'll be Bruno. There's 3. You could argue we need 2, especially if we get into Champions League or Europe and we're playing more matches and we need a larger squad. Some people are screaming at the screen saying, what about Collier? I don't know about Collier. I don't know. He's on loan. It didn't start off too well for him. I think it's getting a little bit better, but I don't know if he's going to make it at United. I don't know if Ruben is going to take him. And when you talk about Collier and you compare him to these other players, I mean, where would you rank him in that list that's up on the screen? Because I feel like that's kind of the answer that to what about Collier? Because Ruben wants to succeed. Ruben wants answers that he can work with almost sort of immediately. And the midfield, I think, is not one to really mess around with or experiment with. I think you want players that are going to kind of go right in. And that are already complete to a certain extent. They need to be able to go straight in, at least one of them. Maybe you get a Baleba and a younger guy, or something like that, like a youth player or something. But let me hit this. Lyle says don't concede first, yes. Bach says probably need 3. Casemiro will go. Or Ugarte, not sure if he's staying. I think Ugarte, I would be a bit surprised if Ugarte was sold. I think Ruben still likes Ugarte. I think Ugarte needs to step up his game a bit, but I don't think Ugarte is doing necessarily bad. And I don't know if Ruben would want to get rid of Ugarte. I think even if he's not the starter, unless Ugarte wants to leave himself. But, even to just have him as an option, sort of a squad player and not a starter, I think he would keep him. I think he would. I would be a bit surprised because they worked in the past and it was his midfield and it worked well. There was that story that came out that apparently, Ruben told Ugarte, "You're nothing like the player you were when you were at Sporting." Basically, what's happened to you when he talked to Garnacho and basically told him to get the hell out of the club. I don't think that's really a bad thing. I think Ruben's trying to give him a kick up the ass. I think also Ruben's probably being honest, and I think Ruben's doing that because actually he actually rates Ugarte, and he knows that Ugarte can give more, and he wants Ugarte to give more. So sorry, I got really thirsty. Lyle says, I reckon the Fletcher twins are ahead of Collier. You think so? You think so? Well, they probably might be, because isn't Collier like about 22 years old? So he's either going to make it or he's not going to make it at this point. I mean, he is sort of a late bloomer. He has some similarities to me. Like he's like McTominay a little bit. McTominay was sort of a late bloomer as well. Yeah, I think Collier is literally at the point of have a good loan and you stay, or not a good loan and they probably sell him at, pure profit. And we just move on from it. Lyle says, I think Ugarte stays. Meno takes over from Bruno, and we get one midfielder, and it should be Wharton. Baleba is the bigger gamble, in my opinion. Well, I like it, because I'm going to get into this right now. So, just as sort of like a snapshot, yeah? And I guess it's your opinion on what you feel like for Ruben's system, or what United are missing as a team when you're watching them. But kind of the way it looks like right now, like the best deep passer, sort of like a build-up hub type player, Angelo Stiller, based off of statistics. He has a good, he's high in progressive passes, and he has high in XAG, which is expected assisted goals. Somebody that's like a pure controller, like a calm number 6, Adam Wharton. He has huge expected assisted goals and non-penalty expected goals, plus expected goals from deep. Strong progressive passing. Somebody that's like good at pressing, or sort of like an engine number 8 player, would be Conor Gallagher. He's high in tackling percentages, including the defensive third and the attacking third tackles. Best young back-to-back upside, which would be like a two-way threat. So basically like, box to box, sorry. I said back to back. Box to box, would be Andre Santos. In goals in his position, he's in the 93rd percentile, which is very good. And he's strong all around. And this is analyzing over 365 days in the top 5 leagues. So, this is across like all the top 5 leagues in Europe. If you want a raw ball winner / sort of an athlete for the 6 to 8 position, Carlos Baleba is your guy. His take-ons are high, carries mid, progressive passives low right now. And that's one of his things. The progressive passes is a bit low on his end. He is more of a destroyer, Carlos Baleba, yeah? He's more of a destroyer. He's not, I would say he would probably be like Ugarte. Baleba is like Ugarte on maybe steroids. I don't know if you would go that far to say that, but something like that. Like, Ugarte is not a progressive passer kind of guy. I mean, when we signed him and I did the video, like, you take 5 minutes to look at his statistics of how he performs over the last 365 days, it was quite evident that Ugarte is not a progressive passer of the ball. He is not one that makes passes that leads to attacking opportunities. He is sort of a little football. He is sort of a mini destroyer. His job is to break up the play, cut the passing lanes, get a foot onto the ball, disrupt the opposition's offense. And then you got the last option, which is flexible 8 with some final third punch, which is Elliot Anderson. He's, in the 84th percentile for assists, and he's goals assists. He's in the 70th percentile. So I'll go into a little bit more depth. Angelo Stuttgart profile, deep passer, kind of like a regista, a six or an 8. Progressive passes, 99% percentile, which is very, very high, very, very good. And I feel like we need that. I think we need something like that. We need somebody in that midfield that is high in progressive passes, that has confidence to do progressive passing, and that's sort of their mentality. That's their game. That is the profile of this player, yeah? That he is a forward-thinking player. He is not one that is going to pass the ball sideways a lot. He is not one that should be passing the ball backwards. He has the confidence and he has the mentality to pass the ball forward and make things happen out of the midfield when he does gain possession of the ball. We need that. We need that. Progressive carries, which is another, going forward. He is in the 66th to 75th percentile, depending on what sample you use. And he fits, Amorim's fit for his system is first phase build up, in a double pivot, unlocks the wingers, or number 10s with line breaking passes. Think controller next to a runner. So he would kind of be your holding midfielder, but progressive, unlocking sort of that, from the midfield, and kind of playing next to, I guess what you would say would be sort of the 8, the box-to-box type of guy. Adam Wharton, Crystal Palace, controller again, 6 with vertical passing. He's in the 99 percentile for expected assist goals, 93rd percentile for non-penalty expected goals. His threat comes via through balls / assists rather than shots. Progressive passes for Adam Wharton, 74 percentile. Overall passing volume, he makes 74th. Dangerous passes, he ranks 93rd. For Amorim's system, sits as the anchor 6 that moves the ball forward early and keeps rest defense tidy. Conor Gallagher, pressing 8, sort of an engine, yeah? Tackles, he ranks very high in the percentile. Tackles in the tackles in the defensive third, he ranks high. Tackles in the attacking third, he also ranks high. He has elite high press recoveries. Tackles in general, he ranks high as well, 70th percentile. For Amorim's system, he would be sort of like a shuttling 8 who presses, wins it back high, and powers transitions next to a passer, which would be Stiller or Wharton. So you could get somebody like Conor Gallagher and put him next to a Stiller or Wharton, and that would be a nice midfield balance there. Andre Santos, he does score goals for his position. He is quite high, 93rd percentile, and assists 67 percentile. Goals and assists, he ranks 89th percentile. There wasn't a lot of stats on him, yeah, but for Amorim's system, two-way number 8, so box to box, who can break the lines and arrive in the box. Long-term upside as a press-resistant 6 / number 8. Carlos Baleba, of course, we know him very, very well. Brighton, ball-winning 6 with on-ball growth curve. His pass completion, he's got an 86.6%. He ranks 70th percentile in his position across top 5 leagues. Aggressive carries in the 64th percentile. Successful take-ons, 84th percentile. Aggressive passes, he ranks in 18th percentile, which is very, very low. For Amorim, he's a physical ball winner for a double pivot. Needs polishing and forward distribution to start every week under Amorim, probably. But I think he will start. I mean, if we were to get him, he would start. Yeah, but Yeah, I think that's the one thing about Baleba. Now, it depends what Ruben is going for in that midfielder. Does he want somebody like Baleba, who is sort of a destroyer? He lacks in progressive passing, and the other player will be sort of the progressive player, and you split it that way? Or do you get two players that are a little bit similar, that kind of complement each other a little bit more? In terms of, you know, maybe like a Conor Gallagher, and then you get like a Stiller or Wharton next to them, where they complement each other very nice and very well. Elliot Anderson, just to round it off, with all the stats and stuff. Again, hybrid number 8 with some end product. And he's decently good at set pieces as well. Assists, 84th percentile. Goals plus assists, 70th percentile. Non-penalty XG, 39 to 50th percentile. Depends what you're using. For Ruben's system, could be a rotational number 8 who can link phases and add set piece quality. Fits as the more advanced side of the pivot. So, I mean, in that case, you could say if you get Baleba and you get Elliot Anderson, you play them next to each other. They are two different midfielders that play differently, but they could complement each other based on, you know, you got one. It's kind of like an asymmetric type of thing. You got one doing one job, one doing the other job, and they could sort of form one unit together, one massive partnership in doing that. So basically, you know, it depends what Ruben's plan really is, because you know, if he wants a controller number 6, so like build up first, Stiller is probably the top option for that. Wharton would be second, and Baleba is third for that. If he wants like a running pressing number 8, you go for Gallagher would be the top option. Santos would be second. Anderson would be third. And this is just purely off of, you know, statistics and percentile ranking, and how they're doing over the past like 365 days across the top 5 leagues. If he wants a balanced double pivot, so one passer, one runner, which is basically what I was just talking about, the best complementary pair statistically that you could get is Stiller at 6, Gallagher at 8. If you want like a high ceiling younger pair, you could go for Wharton and Santos. Or if you want to do like a physical pivot for tough away games or, you know, tough matches, you get Baleba as sort of the destroyer, and you get Stiller or Wharton as the controller. So yeah, I like that sort of comparison there. It was a lot to take in. I'm not really I'm not really the statistic guy, but there was a lot of names, and I was like, you know what? I think it's interesting to kind of just see how they are performing where they are and what they're actually, how they actually play their game. Yeah, because I can't watch all these guys. I can't watch enough football like that. But yeah, I like the sound of a Baleba / a Stiller Wharton. I think that's good. I think the less flashy one would probably be, or the less hyped one in the fan base would probably be like a Stiller Gallagher. But I think that one, if you want balanced double pivot that complement each other, I think based off the statistics, I think those are two very good options. I think our fan base would hype them up, but I think having these options on the table, if you're telling United fans you can get Baleba and Wharton, and then you tell them we end up with Stiller and Gallagher, I think some of them will be highly disappointed and pissed off about it. But I think they would get over it. They would just be happy that we're signing midfielders. So, Lyle says Conor Gallagher was supposed to be for this season on loan. Stopgap, maybe we can do a loan deal early for him in January. Well, the thing is, you are right. He is technically supposed to be for January, yeah, but there's been a bit of a discrepancy in sort of the... So basically, there's a little bit of it because he keeps being mentioned. Conor Gallagher keeps being mentioned, and it's up to Atletico Madrid if they open the door to a loan move mid-season. If they do, it's a big possibility that United will look to go and do that deal. Now, I think we should absolutely do it. And I will have no problem if United go into January and they announce Conor Gallagher loan in the middle of the season. Because here's my thing. Now, while I understand that it's tough to do business in January, other teams do it. So it's not really an excuse not to do business. I can understand from the club's perspective, listen, we have our top candidates. We're not going to panic buy. We're not going to go and buy somebody that is maybe fits the profile fifth on the list just because we can't get Baleba right now and we have to wait till June to do it or something like that. But what Manchester United have to do, what Manchester United must do is that's all good and fine if you go and get loans. Because I think I think we should definitely be getting a loan in that position because we should have one of these guys at the club already and we could definitely be using them. Because I think over Casemiro in certain aspects, I would prefer somebody that's a bit more mobile. But yeah, we just listen, January, we got to do something. We can't do nothing. I don't want to hear there will be loan options. One of the other names is Joe Bellingham. I don't know about Joe Bellingham. He seems a bit like, to put it in UK terms, he seems a bit like a prat. Yeah? I mean, his father is complaining to Dortmund that he's not getting enough game time and he's unhappy and he's looking to get out of the club. And I don't know if we really need all that bullshit at this moment in time at our football club, yeah? I don't know if it's because he's living in his brother's shadow and he feels like he needs to get out of it, or because his last name is Bellingham and his brother's doing so well, he should get the same up. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I'm just making assumptions here. But I don't really like this situation that's happening at Borussia Dortmund right now. I don't really like it. I don't really like sort of the dynamic of it. I don't like the sort of attitude that he seems to be giving off. I don't really think we need that shit at United. Also, Ruben won't stand for that. So I don't really want to take a risk on bringing in a player that potentially might have too big of a head or is just a fucking nuisance to deal with in the team, and then Ruben basically saying, why did you bring me this guy? He's a dickhead. And we don't need that. So I would kind of, listen, I think Ineos have done a good job in terms of profiles of players, and who we're bringing in and who we're letting go. I think they're doing a good job on that. I think they have identified in terms of attitude, mentality, characteristics, character in general. I think they're doing a good job. When they have brung in players, they have been doing a good job to make sure that the players that we're getting have strong mentalities, have good attitudes, are focused on football, are not causing problems off of the pitch, live probably quiet lives off of the pitch. Yeah, because look at, I mean, De Ligt is one where I don't know what De Ligt does when we're not playing. But you know what? I like that. And I'm not saying that players can't go and do and go live their own lives. But I actually prefer that I have absolutely no clue what De Ligt does on his off time. De Ligt's not at the club. De Ligt's not showing up to fucking NBA games or whatever. And that's all good. They're allowed to go live their lives. But I actually just prefer, because it just makes it seem a lot better, that players, I don't know what they're doing in their off time. It just makes me think that they're probably sat at home hanging out with the fam or something, living a quiet life, and minimizing the risk of doing something that they're not supposed to be doing or getting in trouble, which is the last thing you want for any of your players, right? You don't want, preferably, I really don't want my players at a nightclub. Not because I don't want them to go out and enjoy themselves, but because when you're at a nightclub and you go out, people are drinking, and when alcohol is involved, bad shit tends to happen. And, Maguire, for example, went to Greece. They were out. He's enjoying himself. I don't really have a problem with that. The season's over. But what happened to him? Yeah, there was an altercation. That shit's been hanging over his head. It's still hanging over his head. They still haven't taken him to court for it. The poor guy. I mean, just let him go at this point. Just drop the charges. But, you know, I think I trust Ineos on this at this much. And maybe people will think that I'm a fool for that. Maybe they think I'm naive. Maybe they give me pelters for backing Ineos. I don't know. But I trust Ineos on the profile of player that they're looking at. I don't think we'll end up with Joe Bellingham. I think if we end up with Joe Bellingham, we've monumentally fucked up every other opportunity that we had. And it is sort of a panic loan and not a signing. Yeah. But Lucky's here. It says Lenny Yoro, Harry Maguire, Mazuari, Cunha, Mason Mount must start. Nottingham Forest must win game. Well, we have to play Brighton first, buddy. But I hear you. And Lucky says Gallagher in, Kobe loan for January, you're saying. Well, could be. But I don't know if Conor Gallagher. It's funny to think because basically, essentially, what you're saying is we let Kobe go on loan so he could go play and maybe he gets into England. We bring in Conor Gallagher to basically hold Kobe Mainoo's place. It's not the worst thing because also we get a good look at Conor Gallagher at our team playing in Ruben's system. If it goes well, we could always just go and sign him afterwards. And, you know, we're not tied to anything unless they do, you know, a deal where it's mandatory to pay the fee at the end of the loan, which I don't think we'll do. But I don't think it's that bad of an idea. But then at the same time, I would say if you're Conor Gallagher, I don't really know his situation at Atletico Madrid. Is he not playing at all? If somebody can fill me in, because for you to go on loan from Atletico to come to United, to essentially take Kobe's spot temporarily, how much are you going to actually play? Because he ain't going to displace Bruno Fernandes. I mean, Ruben is not going to drop Bruno, and he's not going to not start Bruno. So he's going to take Kobe's spot, which is essentially you're getting about 20 minutes, 15 minutes at this moment in time. You're getting 20 to 15 minutes, you know, to play. Would he be willing to do that? Is he okay with that? No, maybe, because the footballers, listen, they're professionals. They have egos. I would probably bet Conor Gallagher probably would bet on himself and be like, yeah, I'll go to United and I'll play. I'll feature prominently. I'll get a nice decisive role in there. But I don't really know. I don't think that would go well. Dar Crow says, were there players who drank and yet performed? There was. I'm not saying that, you know, especially back in the day. I mean, Rooney was one that, but not every player is the same, Dar Crow. Not every player is the same, yeah, because people are different. I mean, Rooney was smoking cigarettes and going to the pub. He'd still turn up and score you 2 goals and get you an assist the day after. You know, it didn't really affect him, but you could get another player and have them go out to a nightclub, you know, 3 days before a match or something like that, and it could affect their performance. I don't mind the players having a life. I'm just trying to say, like, you know, for example, like the signings that we got, De Ligt, so far, and he's been here, you know, out of the Ineos signings, he's been one of the longest. I don't really know what he does. We don't see pictures of him in public. We don't see him popping up at places. You know, so I only see him on the pitch. I like that sort of aspect in terms of optics. Yeah, because you just don't hear of any off-field stuff. He does his talking on the pitch. It works well for him. Maz, I assume, doesn't drink because of his religion. And I'm not saying that players drink, but I don't think Maz goes out either. I think he probably lives a pretty quiet life. Kobe is a bit flashy. He's young, but I don't think he really. I think he's a bit quiet as well. There's nothing wrong with being flashy or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. He's a bit quiet. And I think, I don't know, so far Cunha and Buemo is a quiet guy. He seems like, I mean, even on the pitch, he's a pretty quiet guy. So I'm just trying to say, you look at the profile of the player that we've been looking at and we've been getting. Ineos has done a good job, I think, in getting players that are like very football focused first and sort of live a quiet life off the pitch. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, I mean, when Ferguson was there, and I think it was one of the things that helped monumentally with his success and his teams, was it wasn't just, how good is the guy in the position that we're playing. He'd sit you down in the office and he'd give you a 45-minute, hour and a half interview, and he'd want to know, and he'd ask you everything that has nothing to do with football. He'd ask you, you got kids, you got a wife, what do you do in your off time? How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? Like, that would give him the indication of what kind of player do I have. Now, Fergie had characters. Fergie had players that were, it's not like they all just were quiet and stayed at home, but there was a good balance of it. And the majority weren't like that. Yeah, I mean, like every once in a while you had a Cantona, you had a Keane, you had a Rooney. But at the end of the day, their performances on the pitch were so good that you really couldn't have a go at them for it. Yeah, they were doing more good on the pitch than not. Lucky says, all we want with players, keep private life aside and make sure you're ready for the pitch. Yeah. Tara Crow. Why are you having a go at Box, man? Lucky says, Eric, in all team sports, wages can be reduced. Players rather give wages charity brands. Mazawari, not sort of flash. No, I mean Maz is he seems like a quiet guy as well. I'm just trying to analyze. If you look at all the signings that Ineos have made, they're not big. I mean, look at the players that Ineos have signed, and then look at the players that we were signing pre-Ineos. Look at the social media presence. They're not brands. You know what I mean? They're not brands. They're not promoting. And look at the people that are social media presence and they're sort of brands. Rashford, they got rid of him. Garnacho, another one. There's probably a couple other. I mean, Sancho was gone before, but they didn't let him come back. So I think that dynamic is very good. I think we're doing well there, and I think it's helping us become a team. I think it's helping us become an actual team. I think it's making us stronger in that dynamic. The players that we're getting makes me feel like we are actually formulating a real team. We're not there yet. We have a lot more things that we need to fix and add. But this squad, when I compare it to a squad that maybe we had 4 or 5 years ago, I feel like this squad is a bit more level-headed and unified together than in the past, when we had the likes of Lingard and Pogba and Rashford, doing their things on social media presence and constantly making noise, or, if it wasn't them, it was their agents. That just, it was literally, that time was such a media circus. It was such a, it really pissed me off. Listen, it's all good to do your talking, promote yourself, if you're winning. Yeah, I think that's like something that you have to earn based off of your performances as a footballer, because you should be a footballer first and foremost, and you should be performing as a footballer foremost. You should not be promoting yourself as a brand when you and your team are absolutely shit. It just doesn't give off a good look. And you don't, again, I said this before with a couple players, you're not winning fans over. You're winning, and sorry to insult anybody, but you're winning over the dum-dums, yeah? that I like to call them, dum-dums. They are dum-dums. They are like amused with shiny toys, yeah? Like, they put up an Instagram post and the guy's flexing. Look at my player, my guy. What a player. But meanwhile, dude shit, and we're in, like, 9th place, yeah? So, we don't really need all that. Fox says, great pointer. Well, thank you. DJ Dark as Night says, LOL, just tuned into the part of Rooney going for a cigarette and popping out to nightclub. Have I missed much? Well, we were talking about the midfield, and we kind of got into this discussion because I mentioned Joe Bellingham, because Joe Bellingham is apparently one that is potentially, maybe we get him as a loan in January for the midfield. He's a bit disgruntled at Borussia Dortmund, not really enjoying life there, thinks he should be playing more. As his father apparently, you know, I don't know, contacting the manager or making statements or whatever the hell he's doing, basically saying his son's not playing enough and should be getting more game time. And there's a little bit of disruption there. And, you know, he played the other day, he started, had a big, nice smile on his face because he got what he wanted. But I don't really like that. And we started talking about how Ineos, I think, has done a good job in terms of the players that they've brung in. They have done a good job in assessing the players' sort of lifestyles. They're bringing in people that are, they seem to live a quiet life off of the pitch, which I think is a positive. I'm trying to be sort of fair here, and they're humans. They're allowed to have lives. They can go out and stuff. I'm just saying in terms of optics. Again, I think a perfect example is De Ligt. I think De Ligt is purely footballer first. I don't think you can ever say De Ligt is a brand. I don't think De Ligt has a brand. He doesn't promote a brand. And I don't know, so far, with De Ligt being here, you know, this is going to be his 2nd season. I don't know what De Ligt does. I've never actually seen a picture of De Ligt out on the town. I've never seen a picture of De Ligt popping up at I don't know, some sort of event, which I tend to prefer for my players. Now, if you don't do that, that doesn't mean that I hate you. It doesn't mean that I hate them. And it doesn't mean that I think that they shouldn't be allowed to do it. I'm just saying that I tend to prefer players like that. And then, you know, Dara Crow was saying that, you know, who were the players who drank and yet performed? And that's when I mentioned Rooney, because Rooney was the guy. I mean, how many times did he get caught at the pub past curfew when he wasn't supposed to be at the pub, and he was past curfew having a drink and smoking a cigarette, and he'd show up for you on the Saturday or the Sunday, and he'd give you a 9 out of 10 performance. And not many players can do that, yeah? You know, and to be fair, it's total opposite of, if you're going to talk about the best of the best of the best, Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi, you will never find them in a pub drinking or smoking. Like, it'll never happen, especially Ronaldo. I mean, Ronaldo won't even drink soda. Ronaldo only eats salad and drinks water. So, you know. Darkest Night says, just watched Pancho Sancho tonight in Europe. I think he touched the ball once before the dreaded Beanie Hill hooked him off. I mean, the thing about Sancho is he's shit. Let's just put it that way. He's shit. Yeah, he's shit. He's shit. He's been shit. There was actually a story about Sancho, yeah? And if I can find it, I'll read it to you, since DJ has brung it up. And I thought it was quite funny when I read it, because I was just like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? Oh shit, hold on. So, no, now I've lost it. I've lost it all. Amir is here. Shout out Amir. Still repping Ruben as hard as possible. I love it, Amir. I love it. You got to be here more often, Amir. You got to be here more often, especially after the match. After the matches, Amir, we need you here, because you are the opposite of Axe Lord, yeah? So you guys need to have like a nice back and forth discussion. Because Axe Lord still doesn't believe in Ruben and doesn't want him here. And you are the total opposite. Yeah, you back Ruben to the fullest. You haven't lost any confidence or faith in him. And I think we kind of need to see that play out in a civilized manner, yes? But I'm looking for this story of Sancho. And I don't know where I saw it, but I did see it earlier. And if I could find it, I will tell you so that we can hit this. Marcus Rashford has been speaking as well, so I guess we'll touch on that real quick as well. Arnie Slot also making some weird comments once again. What a weirdo. He is such a weirdo. Liverpool managers, man. Can Liverpool just hire a manager that's not a weirdo? They keep hiring weirdos as their managers. Where is the Sancho story? Here's the one from Job. So I'll bring that one. I'll pop that one back in. Where is the Sancho story? Sancho, where'd you go? Maybe they deleted it because Sancho's so shit that they had to delete it. But you know what? I mean, Sancho's stinker. Sancho's taken up. Sancho's getting absolute pelters all over fucking Sancho's getting pelters all over social media. All over social media. I can't find that story. I can't find that story, and now it's messing up the whole flow of the show, yeah? Unfortunately. I mean, I'm gonna move on, and then I'll jump back to it, because while I'm looking for it, but, Lucky does not drink. Respect. I'm not really a big drinker either. I don't really drink. Like, this time around, I don't drink. I drink when I go on vacation. If you don't drink because of religion, I mean, respect. But yeah. DJ says he effed up his own career. I mean, he did, but he's... DJ says, a few more wins. I'll be happy to hear the Stretford End sing the Amorim song. Want Brighton have injuries, it would help. Well, the thing about Brighton is that, I mean, we have been sort of performing kind of similar to them. So I do expect, you know, it's not an easy game. It's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be sort of a tough game. And I think it's going to be a close game as well. So, where... Let me see if I find it here. Hold on. Now, I should have clipped it. I should have saved it. I hate when this happens. It's like, you know what happens to me? I see a bunch of news, yeah, like in the morning, and I'm like, oh, this would be good for the show. And then when I go to do the show later, it's like it all disappears, and I can't find any of it. But basically, I'll just say, I'll just like recap it myself. Yeah, I'll just paraphrase. Basically, there was an update. I think it was from Graham Bailey, who essentially was saying that Manchester United are concerned or worried because they had hoped that sending Sancho out on loan, that he would be playing more and that he would be putting in some performances so that we could potentially sell him in January. Right here, I got it. I found it. So, Graham Bailey on Manchester United's view on Jadon Sancho. This made me laugh. It did. It actually made me laugh because I was just like, if this is true, I don't know what they're thinking. And I was like, I hope it's not true and that it's a bunch of just BS. But Graham Bailey said, it's not that they were hoping a return to form would signal a return to Old Trafford, far from it, but the chances of getting any money back for a player that cost over £70 million are looking as slim as they ever have. In an ideal world, Sancho would have featured constantly and impressed, and United would have a decision to make about whether to take
up his option and possibly sell him, or even sell him in January. Sancho could clearly return to form, and the hope within United is that he does. So they might make a decision. They might have a decision to make. They will continue to monitor the situation, but hopes are not high. I'm just gonna stop everybody right there. Omar Barada, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Vivell, Jason Wilcox, whoever else is involved, give up. Give up. There is no hope for this guy. Yeah, he is a loser. And this is probably the worst I'll ever go in on a player. But he is a loser. And the opportunity that we had to get money was at the end of last season. He had a contract from Chelsea. He fucked that up because he is a prat. He almost ended up, I don't know where. He's gone to Villa, and he is shit at Villa, yeah? He is shit at Villa. And Emery, I think Emery is actually doing himself a disservice to try and use this guy, because I think he's hopeless. And actually, I think for Emery at Villa, I think he's hurting his performances by trying to get this player to play good. He will not... The most that he could possibly do is be a mid player, because he clearly cannot play English football. He can't. He can't. That's why he was sold from the Premier League in the first place. And the only place that he's ever performed well is at Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga. He did not perform good for Manchester United. He did not perform good for Chelsea. And he is not performing good for Aston Villa. He clearly, 110%, cannot hit the levels that that we're supposedly hoping for. Just cut your losses and move on, man. You know, it's over. We are not getting money back for him. And the thing is, just to make it a bit clear, we have an option to extend his contract by a year. So what they were initially hoping for is if we send him to Villa and he plays decently well, we have that option to kind of hang over. If somebody is interested, we can hang it over their head, because we'd be like, well, he won't leave for free in the summer. We'll extend it by a year. If you want him, buy him in January, or you can buy him in the summer, and he has 1 year, and we'll recoup a little bit of money. We're not going to recoup a lot, but, you know, 10 million is better than zero. 15 million is better than zero. I don't know. But, I mean, he's a lost cause, this guy. Yeah, he's a lost cause. I think United needs to just move on, and just it's over with, man. For me, the opportunity was at Chelsea, and he fucked it up himself. And unfortunately, we don't have any control over that, because it's not like we could tie him up to a chair or hang him over a balcony like Suge Knight did and force him to sign the contract at Chelsea. You know, he's just an idiot. And again, the reason why I have such despise for this player, and I'm not like this with players. Yeah, I'm not. Like, you could be shit, and that's fine if you're shit. But the problem that I have is when players are too big for themselves. When their ego is massive and they are not actually a star, and when they do stupid things and act like they are better than everybody, that's when I have no respect for you. So I will disrespect you as much as possible. And I'm keeping it fairly PG in what I'm saying. I mean, I could say a lot more nastier things. I don't like to really take it there. But yeah, I mean, these are the players I can't stand. Like, I cannot stand players that think they are God's gift to the world, and they're nothing special. Like, good for you, mate. You are a professional footballer. Congratulations. You're better than me at it. Good for you. But when I compare you to other professional footballers, you just ain't good. You ain't that good, man. You ain't that good. It's not about me. You being better than me. Good for you. You have more money than me. Fantastic. But I don't respect you. And this is why I had a problem with Garnacho at the end. Yeah, because I believed in the kid. I backed him. I didn't like how he handled the situation. I didn't like how he acted. I didn't like how he was giving off vibes of how he is, you know, Garnacho was acting like his shit don't stink. And it's like, bro, you didn't make it yet, though. You have a lot to fix in your game. You have a lot to do better. And he's just walking around like, nah, I'm the guy already. You're not the guy. And I don't want you on my team if you're walking around thinking you're the guy. Because you're never the guy. You're never the guy. Even Messi and Ronaldo, like, they must know they're the guy, yeah? But they have something in their brains that make them keep going, that they're like not the guy, and they keep pushing themselves. That is the top tier elite mentality that you want. And them two are on another level, yeah. But you want somebody as close as possible to them. That's what you want in your squad. You want 11 players or 22. I take a whole squad full of players like that. That no matter how good they are, they keep pushing for more. No matter how good they are, no matter how much praise they get, they push all that noise to the side. I can improve. I can improve. I can do better. I can do better. So, Lyle says Sancho is denied. I lost that comment. Sancho has denied any and all money deals. There is no... I don't know what... But what does he want, man? What does he want? I don't understand it. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, what does he want? Because he clearly seems to think that he should be, like, starting every match, getting paid $500,000 a week, and playing in all the Champions League games, and playing for, like, Real Madrid or something. But, bro, you can't do that when you go on the pitch and you play like ass, man. You can't, like... You know what I mean? That's the vibe he gives off to me. Like, if he came out and did a press conference, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, yeah, I'd be top goal scorer, Real Madrid, and win 5 Champions Leagues in a row. And everybody would just look at him and be like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? You can't even put in an 8 out of 10 performance for Villa. Like, you can't even put in a 7 out of 10 performance for Villa. Like, what are you talking about? It's like Sancho went down the Ali route. Shame. Well, I think Dele Alli was a bit different, yeah? Listen, Dele Alli had... I don't know Jadon Sancho's personal life. Yeah, I don't. And he hasn't really shared it with us, right? Dele Alli, I mean, listen... He shared what happened to him, yeah? And that's fucked up, right? And it's sad. I still feel bad for that guy, because to go through what he went through, I mean, listen, that fucks you up for life, yeah? He carries that thing with him always. I mean, you don't heal from that completely, yeah? And it was a bit, it's a bit sad, yeah? Because he was actually a good player. I don't think Sancho is like that. I just think Sancho, I think Dele Alli, he had some personal problems, and, you know, it just didn't work. I think Sancho is just, he's just a prat, man. Like, he's just a guy that thinks he is God's gift to the world, and he got complacent, and he got arrogant, and he got less hungry. And because of that, you go downhill. Lyle says, Roma, Juventus, Besiktas, etc. all came in for that twat. And he denied everyone, cut losses and run. And Garnacho is on that street too, and he's younger. Well, that's the problem. And you know what? I'm going to say this. And many of you were here, and many of you, you know, many of you were here for it, and many of you heard me say it a lot of times. I did like Garnacho. I backed Garnacho, and I did believe in Garnacho. And to a certain extent, I still did, even when it was quite abundantly clear that he was no longer going to be at this football club. But the way the things got handled at the end, the way he went about it, he lost my support for it, because I just don't respect that sort of stuff. And he is sort of trending in that way, because I think he also fucked himself up. I think if he wasn't too big for his head, if he wasn't being so arrogant, and if he didn't handle the situations in the way that he handled the situations, he might have still been at United, and maybe it would have been good for him. Maybe. Because at this current moment in time, with his with the perception around his attitude, I mean, Ruben right now is being vindicated. I will see if it continues like that, but Ruben demanding Garnacho to get out of the football club and out of our team, Ruben right now is being 100% vindicated on that decision, because what is Garnacho doing? What is Garnacho doing? If everybody and anybody remembers the transfer story, the story in the transfer window, what did he say? Either sell me to Chelsea or I will sit on the bench for the next 6 months. Well, it's funny how the world works sometimes, doesn't it, Garnacho? Because we've sent you to Chelsea and you've been sitting on the bench anyway. So, you know, play like a Pratt, win Pratt prizes, I would say, I guess. You know, act like a dickhead, win dickhead prizes. I don't know what to tell you. But, I mean, again, we have 2 players, and only 2 players, that have been at Manchester United, that we've had issues either in attitude, mentality, and performances, all 3, 2 out of the 3, whatever it is. But there's only 2. There's Sancho and there's Garnacho that have gone from United to another Premier League team, playing in the Premier League. Everybody else has left our football club and they are playing in a different league. And everybody knows my opinion on players going and playing in different leagues. Listen, it's a different type of football, a different system. The football in the league is totally different. It's not as demanding as the Premier League. It's not as physical. It's not as intense. If you do well there, good for you, man. Good for you. Wish you all the best. You didn't work at United. We should never be looking to bring you back. I've seen enough from all of them. And we've moved on already, yeah? You're somewhere else playing. You're enjoying yourself. There's no need to ever come back. It's over with. We have Garnacho and Sancho, who are playing in the Prem. Both of them have done next to nothing yet. So I feel quite vindicated in my assessment that just because Rashford goes to Barcelona and is playing good, or Rasmus goes to Napoli, or Scott McTominay goes to Napoli, and they're playing amazing, again, good for them, but it didn't work at United. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't a mistake that we got rid of them, and not for nothing, but they didn't go to another Premier League team, and they're not performing in the Premier League. So all indications lead to that they weren't good for the Prem, or they weren't good enough for the Prem, or it just wasn't the right fit for the Prem, and they don't need to be at Manchester United. Garnacho was the one that I felt like potentially might poke a big hole into that if he goes to Chelsea and he's firing on all cylinders. And you would have expected, with somebody with his sort of attitude, to have sort of a kick up his ass after being kicked out of the club that he came through from the youth system, from the manager, and the way it ended. You'd have had an expectation that he would have used that as fuel to prove everybody wrong and shut everybody up. And he can't even do that much. He can't even do that much so far. It is still early and it could turn around, but I ain't seeing shit from him. So Ruben has been, so far, as it stands right now, completely 100% vindicated for getting Garnacho out of the team. And I agree with this sort of stuff. I don't want players with bad attitudes, bad mentalities in our football club. I don't give a fuck how good you are. I don't care how good you can do. If you are a dickhead and you act like one, you are not the right fit for Manchester United, because Manchester United need to build a real team. We need to build a cohesive squad. I want a team that feels, I don't know if family is the right word, yeah? But there's got to be some sort of togetherness. And you can't really have that if you have 1 or 2 players walking around thinking they're God's gift to the world and that they're the shit and that they make no wrongdoings and no mistakes and everything else is everybody else's fault. That doesn't work. It disrupts the ecosystem. We don't need that. We've had that for so long. It's been one of the biggest problems at our football club post Sir Alex Ferguson. It's one of the biggest reasons as to why our team has been so disconnected, so dysfunctional, so underperforming. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the main characters. Yeah, it's one of the main things, because we lost that when Sir Alex retired. We lost a grip on that. Yeah, when Sir Alex was here, we had that shit 100% under control. Even with, you know, and again, I don't know these people personally, so I don't like to really talk about them like that. But, you know, Giggs had off-field problems. I've heard things that Giggs is kind of a dickhead off of the pitch. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of say that. But did we have an issue with him on the pitch? Was it an issue with him in the squad? It wasn't. I mean, he's done some fucked up things, yeah, off of the pitch with, you know, his brother's wife or whatever it was. But his performances and what he gave to us on the pitch never really wandered with whatever happened off of there. And plus, he was already doing it for quite a long time, yeah? So we had that under control when Ferguson was there. When Ferguson left, that's when it became completely unhinged. And that would go more so into the Glazers and Ed Woodward for pushing commercialism. And basically, Ferguson always kept the cap on that, yeah? I mean, it started with Beckham, really, and Fergie didn't like it, because Fergie was always like, you have to be a footballer first, and Beckham was the one that had all the attention, and he was sort of the first social media star before social media was actually a thing. He was the first like pop star, kind of, in sort of the internet age in football. And I mean, Fergie had a huge problem with it because he didn't like the dynamic, and he kept the lid on it. And when Fergie left, the Glazers opened up that can with their commercialism. And that's when the cancer spread through our football club. That's when the cancer took over Manchester United. And I'm sorry to use cancer because it's cancer is a serious thing, but it is kind of like a cancer. Like it took over our football club. It destroyed the ecosystem. It destroyed the mentality. It was allowed to flourish. We were actually pushing that. Our club was actually pushing. Get big names, get big social media presence players, let's sell shirts, let's get clicks. And it ripped apart the foundations that Fergie had for this football club. Ripped it apart, took a nice shit on it, and buried it in the ground. And I feel like at this moment in time, we have an opportunity and a chance to kind of rebuild that. We need to rebuild it. I think what Ruben speaks and what Ruben thinks and what he says, it feels very similar to the way Fergie had his teams in terms of dynamics of having an actual unit of a squad. And I think he can, I hope he can get that back, because we need it back. If we're ever going to actually be successful and long-term successful, not just like a one-off type of successful season, we need that dynamic in our club. And I think we've already started. You know, again, Marcus Rashford seems very happy at Barca. He seems totally different. I've always said, Marcus Rashford, you need a new start. We need a fresh start from you. You need to go. It was literally like a relationship where it's you know, it started off nice, but it's been, you know, 8 years. We're fighting all the time. Both are unhappy. It's become very toxic. You need to change your environment. You need to go somewhere fresh, get new fresh air. He's done that, and he's doing well. I have no animosity towards him. I wish him nothing but the best. I don't really, you know, I'm not watching the games and rooting him on. I don't know if that makes me a bad fan, but I see some United fans, like, they do what I call propaganda for him. Like, literally every time he plays, they're posting about him, talking about him. And I'm just like, why do we do this, though? He's not a United player anymore. I get he came from the academy, and maybe that's my disconnect, because I kind of have a difference in, cool, you came from the academy. Respect to you, once a red, always a red, as we say. But I can't be too pressed, and I can't be too focused. You're not a United player anymore. We have problems here. I'm focused on my players that are playing in the shirt. I'm focused on the players we have now, and I'm focused on the players that are going to be here for the future. I don't really care what Rashford's really doing at Barcelona because he's gone. Yeah, the only thing is that I hope he does good so that we could actually get a substantial fee. That's the only thing. But once that deal is done, I'm not tracking him. I'm not tracking his stats. I'm not gonna put up a post about Marcus Rashford and say we shouldn't have let you go. I miss you. Or blah blah blah. Like, you know, I don't know. Maybe those are the Rashford FC people. But yeah. Mason and this problems. Watch him grow in the academy. Then boom, he imploded too. Well, Mason was a bit different as well. Yeah. And anyway, again, I don't think, you know, somebody like Mason, again, the players do have to have some sort of a responsibility as well for what he did or what happened. I don't think that there was literally anything you could really do because it was in the privacy of his own home. Like, there's only to a certain extent you could do so many things. Yeah. It is in the privacy of his own home. Like, I feel like that would have went down anyway. Because the club would have had to find out that it was going down and then intervene to make sure that it stops or whatever, or, you know, discipline him. Something like that. It's unfortunate because, and what I mean unfortunate for him, for her, and for the football club, because it fucked up his career here. And those are just, you know, really bad things to happen. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like that sort of thing, you know, you're not going to be able to, you can't just protect the player. You can't wrap them in a bubble. Yeah. They have to be smart about things. And maybe we let him slip through the cracks. Maybe we weren't keeping the best eye on him, but I kind of feel like in that situation, something like that would probably always happen regardless, because I don't think there's much that you can really, if somebody's going to do something like that, or an incident like that is going to happen in the privacy of their own home, there's only, like, you can only so much tell the person, you know, how to not do things, but they have to not do them. You know what I mean? Nottingham Forest 2, Porto 0, new manager bounce. Well, we're going to have to take a look at that. Dice Ball in full effect. DJ Darkest Night says the players need to know that Ruben may come around their house to make sure they are tucked up like kippers, not out night clubbing. Well, I assume that the club has something like that. I don't think Ruben's coming to check in on them, but imagine Ruben is going around to everybody's house doing like a welfare check. Like 9 p.m. He's just taking a drive all over Manchester, just going to all their houses, knocking on the door to see if they're home or not. Knocks on the door, the wife or the girlfriend's covering their ass. So he's like, oh yeah, he's taking a shower right now. He's upstairs. Meanwhile, he's at the pub hanging out with the boys, playing some cards, drinking a couple pints, you know, having a smoke. But I assume, I mean, also you have to trust your players. Yeah, I think you need to be able to have trust in them. You can't treat them like babies. They won't really respect that either, right? You have to tell them that there's trust in them. Give them something. If they have any morals about them, if they actually care about their career and they care about the team and they care about Manchester United, they will feel the responsibility to not do those things. Yeah. They will have it in the back of their head to be like, I can't do this. You know, it's bigger than me. I owe it to my teammates. I owe it to my manager. They have trust in me. I owe it to the fans of the club. They're backing me. I shouldn't go and be doing these things. You know, it's not beneficial for me. You have to give them a layer of trust. I think it goes a long way. And I think it's a chance you have to take. And if they break the trust, they break the trust. And, you know, that's on them. You know, when you break the trust, you know, you got nobody else to blame but yourself. So I think you got to give them a little bit of trust. Other results, Villa lost earlier. They did, and they lost a bet for me. I mean, how the hell do you lose to go ahead Eagles? I mean, what's going on there? It's because you started Sancho. It's because Emery started Sancho, man. Don't start Sancho. You don't start Sancho, you don't lose to go ahead Eagles. Palace is losing as well. Well, bloody hell. Amorim needs to remind the players where they came from, and tell them how much the people out there are earning, and our fans give their wages to pay yous. To a certain extent, yeah, I get where you're coming from, DJ, and I don't know. I mean, again, I think that sort of message, DJ, will get through, and it'll work if you have players that actually give a shit, yeah? Because, again, if you have snobby, full of themselves assholes, you try giving that message to one of them and see how far it goes through. It won't, because they won't give a fuck. They won't care. They won't care about us. They won't care about the fan. All they are. Listen, there are people and there are players, because they are humans, and there are people out there in this world that are very self-centered, selfish assholes. They don't care about anything else in the world besides them and their little world. Yeah. So that's why it's important. And I think you're right in terms of that. It is important, and it's one of those messages that I guess you kind of cliche sort of play in your head over and over again, where you say, you know, if I was the manager and I was in the dressing room, or I had a team talk with them, coming from a person that lives a regular life, I'd double down to them. I mean, I've played that scenario in my head, and I'd be like, you know, if I had all of them, I'd kind of make a point to make them understand, like, listen, you don't understand how much of a privileged position you are. The money you make to play this sport and get paid for it professionally, there are hundreds of millions of people around the world that would love to do it. For one reason or another, they didn't have the opportunity, whether they weren't good enough, or they didn't try hard enough, or, you know, genetics or whatever it is. They just wasn't able for them to do it. And you guys have to go out there and represent these people, because they dedicate their lives to you, and you need to dedicate your careers to them. Sort of like that. But that message is only going to get through to players that have the correct attitude, the correct mentality, and have character. That message will not get through to a player that thinks they are God's gift to the world and is a self-centered asshole. It just won't. They won't care. So that's why it's important when you are getting the player profile. I mean, it's not just about ability. You have to get the people that have the mentality and the attitude, are generally, you would say, nice human beings or good human beings. It's important to the squad dynamic. It makes the work environment, because it is a work environment, makes the work environment way better. It can connect, the players can connect more to each other. That's kind of where I felt like, you know, our past squads were so disconnected. We had like 6-7 players that are like these loudmouth, social media, constantly going for the headline players. Then the other players are like these quiet, reserved, they're not really bothered by that bullshit players, and they don't connect with each other. You know, it's half the squad is one mentality, one attitude. The other half of the squad is one attitude and one mentality, and they don't click. It's like having introverts, and it's half the squad was introverted, half the squad was extroverted. The introverts aren't really gonna have any chemistry with the extroverts to a certain degree, and it was too unbalanced. Yeah, because like Mbuemo seems kind of introverted to a certain degree. Yeah, but then you have like Bruno seems a bit extroverted, and so does Cunha. You know, Ugarte's quite introverted. He seems quite quiet. You know, I think there's a better mix in the squad right now. Lyle says, honestly, I don't buy the Rashford doing well thing. He is basically auditioning for Barca, and there's a World Cup, and he's involved in the England squad next season. Let's see how well he truly is. Well, the thing is, I mean, it is fair point, Lyle, and it is a good point out. But that's what I'm trying to say here. When I talked about Garnacho has things like that, with a point to prove, and he's ain't doing shit so far. And at the very least, for Rashford, I could say a little bit more for Rashford than Garnacho is. He has these things. There's a World Cup. He's auditioning for Barca. He wants to get there, and he is turning up. Now, whether he sustains that or not over, a consistent period is a bit of a different conversation. And I get that point you're making. But at the very least, at the current moment in time, you could at least say for Rashford, there's a kick up the ass for him to perform, and he's taking the opportunity to do so. He wants to secure certain things. He's fighting towards certain things. That's a lot more than I can say for Alejandro Garnacho right now. Sancho is useless. I mean, Sancho's got nothing to really fight for. I think Sancho is just going through the wind. He doesn't really care. He wants his contract to expire so he could get a free agent move, so he could get extra wages, so nobody pays a transfer fee for him. He's not fighting for his England spot. I think he's accepted he ain't going to get back into England. I don't even know if he wants to play for England. Like, Sancho is the worst out of them all because, I mean, if you look at Sancho, what is he really fighting for? What is Sancho really, what is his aims? Where is his goals? What does he really want? I just feel like he's become in the mentality capacity of he's just going through the basics and going through the motions and he's going with the wind. Like, he doesn't really have any aspirations. Garnacho, I would say you would have an aspiration to prove a ton of Manchester United fans wrong, prove Amorim wrong, give us a big FU middle finger, be like, look, you shouldn't have gotten rid of me. I think that's his thing right there. And then Rashford is all the things that Lyle listed, and Rashford's doing the best one. I think out of all the players. I mean, I don't know how Anthony's doing. I haven't heard any word about Anthony. And we know about Rasmus. So, and I think Rasmus sort of, even personally, I think Rasmus is a good guy. He's a lighthearted guy. He's a bit silly, but he's not a brand or anything like that. And he's certainly not a dickhead. He doesn't act like a prat. I think even Rasmus has a bit of a point to prove in terms of that, he knew he wasn't good last season, but there was other problems, and he wanted to show that, he could get past that, and he didn't get the opportunity to do it United, and now he has the opportunity to do it in Napoli and kind of progress and move forward and move past last season. And he's doing well for Napoli now, and I think he has a bit of kick up the ass for him too, and he's using it. So, I can respect that to a certain degree. You know what I mean? So yeah. The Palace are trailing to AEK. I mean, I don't even know who that is. DJ says, thank you, man, for answering everyone's comments. I try my best. Sometimes I go on a rant and, but I do try to get back to the chat always. So, Lyle says, yeah, agreed with Rashford. It is different to a degree, spot on. Lucky says Mason Mount, Dorgu, Benjamin Sesko, Yoro, Maguire, Nas, Mazawari, Ugarte will put Mark Saturday. DJ says the greed of some of these players is disgusting. At least do it in the right way. Listen, man, just because they're this is the thing. This is the thing of growing up. When you're a child, when you're a young teen, and growing up in the world of football and looking at the footballers as your idols, and then becoming an adult and realizing how the world really is, and then also realizing that, somebody that might be your hero on the pitch because of the things they do with the football on their feet might not be the best human beings and might not be the best examples. It's a little bit heartbreaking, but, that's why they kind of say, don't meet your heroes, or you might not want to ever meet your heroes because, I've heard some stories, I can't confirm or not, but I've heard some stories of people meeting some of our ex-players, some of our legends, and, some of them are very, very nice people, they say, and then some of them are some of our biggest legends to ever play for the football club are total assholes. And it is a bit, it is a bit heartbreaking, yeah, because I don't want to name somebody because I don't want to give them like the stigma or whatever, but like if one of your favorite, like for me, I'll use this example since it's me. One of my favorite players of all time is David Beckham. Yeah, I love David Beckham. David Beckham was my favorite. He was my first um sort of football favorite player. Yeah, I love David Beckham. He was, I still love David Beckham. Um, that would be like me. I've always looked up to David Beckham as a proper role model. I always looked up to him as sort of a hero. Yeah, he was one of my heroes. That would be like if I met David Beckham on the street or something, and I went to go talk to him, and within 2 minutes of a conversation, I realized that David Beckham is a self-centered prick asshole who is selfish, is out of touch with reality, doesn't give a fuck about the fans. I would be absolutely devastated. I would be devastated. And I would never look at anything the same ever again. Yeah, I just wouldn't, because it's not what I perceive him to be. I don't know him personally, but from his football career and from him being on camera, making public statements, he gives me vibes as a good person. But if I was to meet him and he basically told me to go fuck myself because I'm a regular person and I don't have time for you, I'd be devastated. It would shatter my whole world. And that's what happens. This just because they are good with the ball in their feet, just because they are a hero for the club, does not mean that they are good people. And just because you play for Manchester United, as we've seen, doesn't mean that you are actually a good human being at the end of the day. Unfortunately, you would like all your players to be perfect role models and very excellent human beings, and that's what we strive for at Manchester United. That's what we used to really have. That was one of the things that we had at our football club that we were proud of. That the majority of our players were upstanding players, and that they were also good people that set good examples for the young people that watch the sport. We strayed a little bit away from that, or maybe you could argue a lot, but over the past 10 years, we've definitely strayed away from that. But I kind of feel like with this group, this sets of players, I kind of like from the mentality and attitude aspect. I'm starting to like them a little bit more. With the more additions that we're doing under Ineos, I'm starting to like the team in that aspect a lot more. They feel a lot more United-ish. I don't know how to put that. I don't know about the ability-wise, but attitude and sort of personality-wise, I feel like it's coming back, hopefully. I think it is under Amorim and Ineos. So I hope it continues. DJ says, I hope he's doing well. The French, the France Anthony, we're talking, no, Anthony Dos Santos. Anthony Martial, I believe, is playing for like AEK Athens or something. I think he's doing all right, but he's pretty much at the end of his career, but I think he's okay. I think he's doing okay. He's just living the end of his career. I think he's chilling. And Anthony Martial was one that I never really understood why he always had so much hate around that time. He would be lumped in with the likes of the Rashfords and the Lingards and the Pogbas, and I never really understood it. Because I was like, Martial is a quiet-ass guy. Martial doesn't even promote a brand. Martial barely makes like a social media post. Why? And then they used to hit him with Martial has a bad attitude because he doesn't smile when they put the camera on him. And I used to be like, what are we saying here? What are we saying here? The guy doesn't smile at the camera, he's a bad attitude? It's just how he is, man. Like, I don't know. Why are you smiling for? There's nothing to smile for. Nothing happened. And then also, by the way, like, you would see him smile. Like, if he scored a goal or we got an assist or a win, he would smile. So I never really understood that aspect. I always found it quite baffling. I was like, I don't know why they lump him in with Rashford and Pogba. I was like, he doesn't do social media, but he doesn't have a brand. I was like, I don't know why he's being lumped in with him. And they sort of lumped him in, and because they tried to say like these players have bad attitudes, and Martial's one of them because he doesn't smile a lot. What the fuck? What are we talking about? So Darkest says, role models, if you ask them, will tell you the last thing they want to be is a role model for anyone. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. For me too, and my Mrs. Grown. I have that problem too. After I finish a great night playing to thousands of people, I too would sometimes tell them to F off. Delete Euro back 3. I'm going short. Well, I'll drop it in real quick. Yeah, Martial crucified with injuries. I feel for him. Yeah, at his time, I think he's okay though now. Yeah, and that just goes to show you. I don't know what we were doing at United, but I mean, it was clearly an issue at the club because he left the club, and I think he's been fairly injury free since he left Manchester United. I don't think he's missed anywhere. Now, you could argue, okay, where he went to go play football, it's way less intense, and maybe that has to play with it. But listen, United, we've been through some injury crises, as of late. And just real quick on injuries, I think it's quite interesting because I still have a bit of an argument with my father, because he keeps saying, like, is like Ten Hag had it a bit hard, though. It was a bit fucked up because he had all those injuries. And we did talk about that. That second season was disasters with injuries, and it did play a hand into going into 8th. And it did leak into the 3rd season as well because there was still some players out, players coming back. But I every time he says that, the tweet pops into my head. There was a report, and they were reporting, and I don't know if we actually got the definitive answer for this, but I think we're kind of seeing it because there was a report that came out that they were saying that the amount of injuries that was happening at United, especially at that time, and many of us, including myself, was blaming the medical staff for all the injuries. And we said the medical staff is shit. The medical staff needs to be changed. Now, we did change some things in the medical staff, but I don't think we did a complete overhaul. We didn't rip it down and start over again. But one of the reports was that it was Ten Hag's training and Ten Hag's lack of rotation that was leading to so many injuries. So there was nothing really the medical staff could do because the medical staff was giving their advice, but Ten Hag was doing such hard training regimens and the schedule wasn't proper that it was leading to extra injuries. And also the lack of rotation and resting of players was leading to increased injury times. And I remember at that time, and I was like, that's a load of shit, because it was hard to believe the media because they were so stacked against him. And this is why the media shouldn't have an agenda, because when you do tell the truth and when you do bring facts, people don't believe you because they think everything you're saying is an agenda. And there was an agenda against Ten Hag. They hated Ten Hag. They wanted Ten Hag sacked. And they put out a lot of fake or false bullshit about Ten Hag. So when they put that out, I didn't really buy it because I'm like, now they're just having a go at him. They're trying to blame him for everything, yeah? Well, he's gone, and Ruben has come in, and the difference in the amount of injuries and the length of injuries, and even some of the players that, like, I mean, look at Luke Shaw, who has always been injured, and he's doing okay now. Look at Mason Mount, who, throughout Erik Ten Hag's total time, couldn't play more than 3 matches because he'd be injured and he'd be gone for 4 months. Mount is now featuring prominently, and we've had no setbacks with Mount. So maybe that report was actually accurate in that Ten Hag had a big role to play in the injuries that we were getting, and that was on him because we have a different manager with different training regimen, a bit of a different medical staff. And we're seeing like the revival of like players like Mason Mount and Shaw that are actually available from match to match, and they're not getting setbacks and they're not getting injury. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Lisandro. I'm keeping an eye on Matthijs de Ligt because he tends to pick up knocks here and there. And we got to see what happens with Maz. But we're playing less matches this season, so but even as an indication of last season, we were playing 3 matches a week. We played tons of matches, and we didn't have we suffered some. You're always going to suffer some injuries, but we didn't suffer a lot. Nothing like that season. So, you know, DJ says, let's face it, our medical team were part of the problem. I think they were, because we did make some changes there. So I think that they did play a part. But I think there is a plausibility that maybe that report was accurate, that maybe it was Ten Hag's training regimens were a bit too intense, and lack of rotation was leading to increased injuries and injury times. Lucky says, people blame Ten Hag. Stupid, he had lots of injuries. Well, they blame him for that season, yeah. But I'm talking specifically about the injuries. They passed players with crucial injuries. New medical center build now. Lisandro Martinez, Maz, Yoro, Mason Mount, Cunha resting today. Yeah, they need to rest. Lyle says the training regimen was also on the list of reasons Leverkusen sacked him. Was it really, Lyle? See, I didn't know that. That's why we love the chat, man, because you bring in points. I have no clue about that, but you know what? I mean, I had no clue about that, but that just literally that furthers my point just a little bit. So, yeah, you know, every time my father brings that up, it just pops into my head. I'm like, I get he had a lot of injuries, and I was there defending him, and I was saying, bro, how are you supposed to survive during this injury crisis? But now, when he says it, I'm like, yeah, but listen, if he played a hand in it, then it's his fault, man. And it takes away a bit of sympathy, yeah, because he was clearly doing things that was leading to that. So he basically screwed himself. No, not the media this time for me. It was his medical team. I'll agree to disagree until the end of the season. Well, we'll see how it goes. That's what I'm saying. It's something to keep an eye on. I'm not definitively sold on it. And actually, I think even with this season, DJ, I think it's kind of hard to make a determination because we are not in Europe and we're playing less games. So we should have less injuries. Yeah, we should have less injuries. We're not wear and tearing our players as much. But off of the indication of last season, we had a couple injuries, but it was nothing like that injury crisis under Ten Hag that season. And we had a different manager with different training regimens and stuff like that. This season, it's going to be hard to kind of use that as a gauge because we're just playing less matches. So if Ruben does well and gets to stay here and is here next season, and we get back into Europe, then I think, you know, we could look at it at that point as well. But still, I think you could still kind of look at it for this season as well, you know. I think a good indication to me, one of the things is like that I feel like we kind of just glossed over it a bit, is like, I don't know what miracle they performed on Mason Mount, but he literally went from being as strong as paper mache to like now he's like injury free, apparently. Knock on wood. Gotta knock on wood for all these guys. But yeah, I mean, Mason Mount was literally the equivalent of like he'd get a paper cut and he was gone for 4 months. Now he's been playing like a lot. Like he's never played so much at his whole time at United than he has under Ruben Amorim. He couldn't get matches in under Ten Hag, and whatever they were doing, they couldn't rehabilitate him. And Shaw has been one that has dealt with injuries his whole entire United career. He's never done a full season at United, and so far, I mean, he's still available. I would have told you, you know, last year, I probably would have said to you in September, I would have been like, we'll see Luke Shaw play like 10 matches and he'll be out for the whole season. I mean, now maybe the change of him playing a left center back and not playing left wing back is helping him, but I would still owe that up to Ruben and his team and the medical staff and whoever's doing the analysis and stuff like that, where I feel like they've sort of formulated a plan saying that, listen, if Shaw plays left wing back, you're putting this amount of stress on his body. if you overload him with this workload, he will get injured. But if you play him left center back, it's a lot less demanding than left wing back. Therefore, the percentage of stress on his body is cut by, I don't know, 29%. I'm making up a number. So if you play him left center back, his percentage of him being injured and being out for 4 months goes down, significantly. So if we're going to use him, let's put him left center back. Let's not play him left wing back. And let's keep him fit and part in the squad. I don't know. I mean, it's not my job. I don't get paid to do these analyses. They got machines and technology for that shit that they're supposed to be doing at the club, but maybe that's what's happening. So, and I would owe that probably to Ruben's team, because he bring a whole 5-6 people with him, and whatever changes that Ineos made in the data and analytical department and the medical departments, I think those are all benefiting us. So little by little, these things take time to change. But I think we are seeing some benefits already, and hopefully it only gets better. So, Lucky says new medical center. Let's make sure count going down. Lyle says report after sacking German outlet Bild agreed that Ten Hag employed unusual tactics such as prioritizing push-ups over running and passing while repeatedly clashing with upper management. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Bild is pretty credible, and it had to be a bunch of stuff for them to sack him as fast as they did. I mean, he wasn't even there for he basically did a preseason and managed 2 games, and they kicked him out the door. So, they later elaborated that the training was a concern for team health. Well, that's quite interesting. I'm surprised, although I think maybe United weren't smart enough. And I guess United did it in a different way, because they kind of did say that. Yeah, they kind of did come out. That's kind of what they reported. But I don't think people at United I don't think that they had a real grip on what he was doing and how that was affecting the team. So that's probably why it didn't really come out in that way. We aiming for new medical facilities for players, body recoveries. Well, we need those stuff. Lucky. Like Ronaldo said, those things were the same when he came back to the club when he left, which you can't have. That's 10 years difference. The equipment is old. The way we were doing it is old. Modern times. We need modern solutions, which is what we're trying to do again. So I give it to Ineos. And just real quick, let me just hit a couple things, because I think we got some things while we went live. So I'm just gonna run through some things. Yeah. Where may they be? No, look, see, where did they go again? Marcus Rashford, real quick. Marcus Rashford, making some comments. Rashford saying, people forget, but I've spent 23 years of my life in Manchester United. So sometimes you just need a change. I think that might be the case for me. And yes, I'm fully embracing it. I'm fully embracing it all. I don't do this, but I will give myself a pat on the back for this, yeah? Because I literally was saying this for months. I never really had, it wasn't really about his ability. It was just, you can tell, man. I see a guy that spent 23 years of their life at Manchester United, and you are walking on the pitch, and your head is always down, and you don't look happy. You need to change your environment. You are staying in a place that is not beneficial for you, and that is not beneficial for the club. like, there's no better analogy than it was literally a relationship that started off great and then it soured and turned toxic, and it's just not a good space for the two people that are involved in it. And I said, and I was just like, you need a fresh start, dude. You need to go somewhere else, get a taste of some new air somewhere, go start over and go do you, and we can move on from you and we can go in a different direction as well. And it'll be beneficial for us and it'll be beneficial for you. And I think that's what's happening anyway. I mean, again, he's doing well over there and he seems refocused and re-energized, even if it might be temporary because he's got a lot of things to play for. But still, I don't think we would be saying this at United. And he needed to go. And I think United, without him here, I think the focus around United, the focus around the team is different. I think there's a less of a distraction. The conversations is not Marcus Rashford every week of not performing, not playing. It's not taking away from the conversations of the squad, of the team. I think it's benefited everybody. So, Lyle says, Eric, I'm out of here, buddy. Got to catch up on some Z's early meeting coming up. Take care, bro, and hail the chat. Peace out, Lyle. We are going to get out of here in the next, like, 2-3 minutes. So, appreciate you, buddy. Cheers. Be good. Again, no stream tomorrow. Red Devil recap after the match versus Brighton. Score predictions. I say 2-1 United. We're going to get the third win. We're going to get 3 points. It's going to be different this time. We will win this match. We're going to get over the line. And I will see you on the Red Devil recap after the match, after the Brighton match on Saturday. And we'll speak then. So enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your Friday as well. Rashford, real quick, also said whether he wants to stay at Barcelona. He said, yes, of course. I'm enjoying myself at the club. Barcelona is one of the flagship clubs in the history of the sport. For a player, it's an honor. Fair play. You know, fair play. Fair play. I have no problem with what he's saying. I'm just happy that he said it because I was kind of speaking for him. Well, I wasn't speaking for him, but I was speaking, and you know, I'm not him and I'm not in his head, but I was literally saying that for months. And the fact that he came out and said that I've been there for 23 years and I'm sure he still loves, you know, it's literally been his whole life. And I'm sure he still loves United, but he needed a change, man. You know, he said sometimes you just need to change. You do, man. You do. That's why, you know, life lesson. If you feel stuck, if you feel displeased, if you feel like your life is miserable, you need to change something, and you got to do it, or you're gonna stay there. So, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable. You think a guy that was there for 23 years, you didn't think you didn't think it felt weird or uncomfortable to leave basically his home to go somewhere else? Doesn't know how it's going to work out, but he had to do it. He had to do it. So, January window, Lucky says, goalkeeper and Gallagher crucial for women, 2 players in as well. Oh, for the women's team, 2 players as well. How are the women's team doing, by the way? What position are they in? I know we got Rolfo. She used to play for Barcelona. I'm actually surprised. I like that girl. She's a good player. January, when do you want to keep her? I don't think we need to keep her, really. I'll take Gallagher. I don't think we need to keep her, though. But, I mean, you could get a keeper to get ahead of the curve. If one's available, sell Bienda and, you know, get somebody else in. So that we don't have to focus on it in the summer, but yeah. But, yeah, listen, guys, that's it. Show is over. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate every single one of you. Very, very good discussion. Please make sure you smash the like button on your way out if you didn't hit it already. We did the poll. 14 people voted, by the way, before we get out of here. Should United get 2 new midfielders? 79% of the people voted yes, and 21% of the people said buy one and use money on another area. I think for United, we should be able to buy 2 new midfielders, also be able to go get a wing back and a center back in the summer window. We should be able to do all of that, and a goalkeeper if we need that. So Lucky says the women, he watches their games and they're doing well. That's good. That's good. We want all aspects of United to do well. So, I hope they're doing well. I hope they win the league at some point. I know the Chelsea team has been sort of running rampant with that, but I think we'll get there. And they can make history for the club as well. So, yeah, again, thank you guys. Shout out to anybody that's new, that subscribed. Appreciate all of you. Shout out to all the chat members. Shout out to the day ones as well. Love you guys. Thank you for the support as always. We will see each other after the Brighton game has ended. We will be live about 20 minutes after the match has ended. Make sure you are there. We want to hear from you. We want your opinions. And on the match, we're going to break it down and do analysis like we always do. And yeah, it's going to be a good show. So make sure you get there. Enjoy the rest of your Thursdays and enjoy your Fridays as well, since we won't be seeing each other. And we will see each other on the Saturday after the match. And hopefully we'll be here celebrating a win together and another 3 points and 3 on the win. I'm backing the team to do it. I think they can do it. I don't know if they will do it, but I think we have a very good opportunity to go do it. I don't see why not. I don't see why we can't do it. And I think they need to do it. So the players need to do it for themselves, the club. Ruben needs it. Everybody needs it. We need this, yeah? So let's go out there. Let's get it. Let's get it to be different this time. Let's get the positivity back in this football club. We want to be happy with our football club. We want to love our football club. We want to talk in a positive light about our football club. And I would just say to the players in Ruben Amorim, let's make it happen, man. Because if you're ready to provide, we're ready to support, baby. So let's go. United 2-1. That's my score prediction. 2-1. Old Trafford win. Massive game. And a lot on the line. And let's see. I think I really want us to get this win, because I think we're gonna look a lot nicer in the table, a lot more respectful. And I just want to see us back in that area, yeah. So we could have a little bit of oomph behind us again. So we could have our chest out a little bit. Because you can't have your chest out when you're at 15th, yeah. You can't have your chest out when you're sitting in 10th. You could have your chest out when you're in the top 5 and you're in the mix with the rest of the teams. And you know we're supposed to be shit, and they're supposed to be way better than us. So let's go. Lucky says massive game. We need to shut them off. Hopefully key man out. Well, hopefully. Let's go. Yep. All right. I'll catch you guys later. Be good. Enjoy. Stay safe.